Right folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. And for today's adventure, I'm in a similar area as to where I was a few weeks ago when we explored the incredible lands of Loch Chandra at the dam. But for today's adventure, I've come back and I'm hoping to document a little cottage in a wee farm croft located on the big hill behind Loch Chandra Dam. So there is one deciding factor on this adventure folks, and it might make it impossible to get to this location, and that is if there's loads of cows in this field on the hill. I might not actually be able to walk up to the abandoned wonder, but I've got a secondary option. If that is the case, I'll be able to maybe try and do a circuit and come back down the other side of the glen into the lands of Glen Isla and hopefully link back up with the road that takes me back to my car. So yeah, I've got a couple of options here for an adventure, but I love just having these fresh videos, exploring things and documenting things that I've never seen before. And I think the only time I ever videoed this house here on the hill was when I was on my way to another adventure. I just happened to walk past it. Anyway, I'm gassed. I've been walking probably about a mile and I'm just about at the shores of Loch Chandra Dam, so yeah, I'll update you once I'm kind of past that. I'm now going to spend time recording it because obviously a few weeks ago we walked up there and saw it. So yeah, let's head on folks, let's get into the action. I can see the little cottage on the hill now that I was going to go to, and there's actually a massive herd of cows right around it. And that's sometimes what happens on these adventures. We hate to come into the glens with respect to like the farmers and the landowners and also the animals. So I'm going to go my secondary route on this adventure, and I'm going to head right up that path that takes me over the hill and hopefully back down into the lands of Glen Isla. That's a route that I've never actually walked before on the channel, so it'll be cool to go up here on a fresh route. That's what I love sometimes on adventures, the little things you find along the way. And there is some cool historical wonders at the far side. So yeah, it's a cool video folks, a cool adventure I should say. Check it out, I'm not sure if it comes out because it's so far away, but that hill there, the grassy hill at the end of the dam, that was the one I was wanting to go up. There's a wee cottage kind of croft right on the face of that hill, and there is actually another abandoned farm at the top of there, quite a big farmhouse, but it's so far gone. Like last time I was up there it was proper dangerous, you could hardly go inside because the upstairs floor was just about falling down. But maybe one day we'll have to go further up that hill as well, but because there's so much livestock in that area, I think we'll just head straight up this path. It looks like there's been some timber operations on the hill. There's a massive heron which just took off from the loch. Whoa, there's two of them. There's one here and one further up the hill folks. I don't know if you can hear it making its call. Look at that, it's majestic. It's probably too far away from the camera to even see it, but that's just spontaneous. Those things are absolutely massive. There may be a way to go and try and find some fish further down. There's a couple of lochs at this area. The main loch here and then a tiny little loch down at the bottom. But yeah, I was up here with Highlander 87 probably like 3 weeks ago or whatever, and we documented this place in detail. That's why today I'm hoping to find some more abandoned history up this direction folks. I love seeing things that I've never seen, and if there's like paths or wee roads that I've never been, that's always where I enjoy exploring the most. And that's where you often find the coolest history, in the most remote landscapes. And there's no main roads in the lands here. This was all just like forestry tracks that I came in on, and even this, it's just like gravel tracks over the land. I've now made it onto the top of the hill here behind Loch Chandra Dam, and look, there's this little gamekeeping area. Looks like bird pens and stuff like that. Must be for the rearing of the game birds. Anyway, check this out, there's been forestry work as well getting done. Loads of trees here awaiting collection, probably by the lorries. Wow, what a scene. It must be this forest here that was getting cleared to a certain degree, or thinned. Some amount of wood here, folks, but look, it's all tiny little bits. Again, it's no fully grown trees they've been taken out. So I'm not sure if some of that stuff gets chipped or carried away for biomass. Wow, what a scene, look at that, folks. Looking down, whoa, there's a dog here. Look at this, what? Look at this with the autumn scene here, folks. Hey, you dog. So shout out to that dog walker that I just seen out here. I got the fright of my life when that collie total rocked up, like, out of nowhere. Anyway, there's a path here on the left, and I'm sure this is the one that should take me to the ancient historical abandoned farm. And it's random coming up this way. I didn't even know where I was going to end up the day. I was hoping to go to that first croft, but yeah, here's another one that we've managed to actually get to, and I think I'll be able to complete the circuit if I had on going round that road there once I've looked at this. Look at this here, we've got the colour of the evergreen forest, and then the autumn colours on these trees at the end. The scenes are just incredible once again. And just think, this would have been an old track back in the ancient days. An old track leading down here to this little farm croft located on the hill. I can see that there's a sheep up ahead. I'm just hoping there's no cows in this section of the glen. But who knows? Because these adventures, folks, they often take a turn. Like, if you go into a field, you have to try and watch out. If cows have got cafes, they can be quite boisterous and dangerous. That's how often I get a miss, rather than trying to walk through the middle of them and upsetting them. When there's sheep in the field, it's always better, because they just kind of get out of your way. Look at this, it's a mad scene. The scenery here is just opening up. The further out we come, we can see more of this incredible landscape of the glen here. Oh my goodness. There is actually, I can see it now, there is actually cows over here. Wow, they're in a separate fenced off section here. So I need to just basically sneak past. Check out, folks, this is an absolutely ancient farm croft, and there is abandoned remains of a fair amount here. And it is incredible to be on these adventures in places like this, seeing things, and like, because I visit so many different historical wonders from different time frames, I always forget the details, and then when I see it again, it's just absolutely mad. Some of these places may have been lost in the Highland clearances and incredible times like that in Scottish history. That's why it's cool to document it on the channel, to see what's left today. It's like a scar or skeleton of history. Nowadays, a sheep field. Originally, probably many little sheep fields, and maybe other fields with wheat and grains. Maybe fields of tatties, so they could get their bowl of stovies on the go. But even nowadays, obviously, it's still prime grazing lands for animals. Wow, I'm just going to head up what must have been, originally there's been a track, I think, with a waterway beside it. Wow, this is so interesting, folks, look at this. The ancient waterway still flows. They would have just basically tamed the stream so it flowed through the area of the settlement that they wanted. And the stream would have been probably a lifeline for the village, or like the farm settlement here. Wow, it's just amazing thinking of the horse and carts rolling up here. And you can see the outline of the wall, which is like an old dry stone dike which would have surrounded the field. Just think, like in the 13 or 1400s, the smoke would have been coming out the chimneys here. You would have probably heard the chickens and stuff making their noises as you came into the farmyard. It is so mad to think of that. There's some big stones up in the fields around here, but in the lands of Glenisla it is super rocky and stony land. Most of these stones would have been sourced in the local area, off the land. A lot of these places were built with what the people had just kind of all around. They probably had a lot of wooden parts to the structures that's now obviously fully rotted away. But even the stonework sometimes used to get taken for newer properties getting built in the glens. It's so peaceful when you come out to an area like this. There's not even a sound apart from the animals and the water flowing. And then to see this, it's just incredible. It's like stepping back in time, imagining the family and the wee community based in areas like this. So many years has passed. So much history. And yeah, there's been a fair amount of buildings here. Check out this one, the big lintel stone still lies down on the ground within the long grass. Wow, I was here one time before, but it was like in the springtime, and I believe like sometimes at different times of year you can see different details of the history. It's like this here has had a big opening, so it's almost been like a shed here, and then like maybe a cart shed, because you have to think horse and carts would have been all the rage back in the day when a thing like this was in its prime. And a cart shed was probably one of the main sheds, as well as stables and things like that. And then also areas where they would have brought in animals, maybe in the winter months when the conditions is harsh out here. And also for the control of that water, they must have had the fresh water supply. Look at this, it's been like almost the side of that building's been there. But there has definitely been another construction here. So many little sheds and maybe like side sheds and stuff like that. Anyway, let's keep this adventure moving, folks. You know what we're like on this channel. Whoa, I just got the thistle. The thistle just stabbed me. That's the flower of Scotland out here. Yeah, look at this, the wee door leading into the property. And this wall. There's been so much here, but there's been so much ruined and lost here. It's almost sad to whoa! Fright of my life once again, folks. Second time on this adventure, an animal there has jumped out. But yeah, there's so much gone from here and destroyed. It's just incredible to see what remains. Even like right here, it looks like there's been so much built and constructed. And then I can see there's been a proper little gate at that side. All the sheep's up here, and I'm obviously coming with respect. I'm not going to go any further up there and upset them on today's adventure. And look at this, here's the outline of the main farm building, and then the old little fields at the front. And then I think there's been more around the corner here as well. These old structures are a great habitat for the sheep, because on the cold windy nights the sheep hide in behind the walls and they get shelter. And that's why it's still great grazing lands. And obviously you can see the pheasants. That's from the gamekeeping. These pheasants are reared in the lands for the shooting. So you obviously see them fleeing around wild most times a year until the shoot's on, and then boom. So the interesting thing with this place is, for some reason this building, it's clearly been a building originally, it's fully filled in with stones. And I'm not sure for what reason. You have to imagine in the Highland clearances or something, like what went on. They may have just put Ahan into here when they were finished and then filled it right in, covering all evidence of the brutal history. Because it's the only building here that's like that. It is strange how it's built and constructed. Obviously, because hundreds of years have passed, and it's harder to see exactly what they were doing or what had happened to it. But it has been a fine constructed area for sure. it just makes you wonder if this here has been the house or if it's been there. The remains of their old chimney and that seems to be gone. But yeah, this building leads right along. It's harder to even see doors on this building. Wow, I'm just blown away, folks, by the history. I always say it. I'm always like, wow, when I look around, but sometimes I take a look over here and it's the autumn colours with all these trees. And then all the animals. And then you look at this side and you hate to imagine it back in the day when all the walls were perfect. There would be no grass here because it would be worn from the cart wheels. It would be a main hustling, bustling little hub here in the glen. And then one day it just fell silent. The history almost gone and forgotten from the land. Anyway, let's head on with this adventure, folks. You know how it is on this channel. I'm wanting to get back down out of here and onto that track before the cows come over. Because if they go to the corner of that field, it'll be harder for me to get out. The grass within that forest there is above my head height and it's just an overgrown wilderness. So I'm hoping just to get over where I came in. But yeah, it's cool just to always go out on adventures and then see little things like this. Document it before it's fully down. And it is kind of located between Loch Chandra and Glen Isla. Just look at this stonework here, folks. This is what I love to see. Think how long ago these stones were put into position. A lot of them using old limestone mortar. And that's the reason a lot of these main house walls can often look dry stone in construction. The limestone mortar washes out and then it becomes so fragile the walls can fall. Especially if a sheep or something runs, like hits against it or maybe even lies against it on the cold night. Anyway, this is amazing. This has clearly been one of the little doors into this structure. And there could have even been other little buildings, like I say, made out of wood. Things like that, that's just fully gone now. But it's amazing to see these little stone outlines, even down here. There's clearly been a little building. Or more sheds. Yeah, this building here has been super interesting. Check out the size of it. It looks almost like it's been... I don't know if it would have been a water wheel, because where would it have come out down there? But there's no even a door into this shed here. It's like a mad looking little corner of the building. Wow, yeah, but like I say, imagine when the smoke's coming out the chimneys and the people's kicking about with the wooden wheelbarrows. Maybe a horse trundling up the road with some wheat and that on the trailer. It's proper abandoned farming life out here on today's video, and that is the kind of variation that we love. Look at it from here, you can see the corner of this building. They've actually shaped the stones. Some of them is perfectly cut, like the corner of this building here. Before I leave, I'm just walking up here a tiny bit to see what it looks like. The way it's sloped, check it out. It's like it's always originally been built like that. But look, it's been built at a separate time to this, because this would have been the original corner here, and then maybe a passage down through, and then at a later time they've put this extra little bit on, and it looks like there's been a gate leading out that way onto that track, which probably led right up past the farm. Back at that time, Loch Chandra probably wasn't even such a big loch, because it's obviously a man-made dam. So you have to think how different the land was back when a farm like this was in operation or in its prime. There could have even been forest right to the edge of these little walls that we can see. There was maybe enough land cleared just for them, for their survival. And then boggy wetlands and forests beyond that. Because if you leave this land to its own devices, that's what it turns back into. Boggy wetlands. Which does become a thriving habitat for nature, but to see what they did back at this time, it must have been incredible. the amount of work that went on when they had no like technical machinery. It was mostly manpower or the power of their animal. And that's what we're loving, like remembering on this channel as well. That kind of ancient history, not so long ago, and the speed that technology's moved to nowadays within that few hundred years. Here's another pheasant down here. Sometimes that's the funny thing with the pheasants, they hide within the long grass and then they just jump out when you didn't expect it. So this is interesting here, under what is the farm road, the original farm road. Just think, these big stones have been put over the top of this waterway. You can hear it flowing, it leads off down that way. And that would have been put in at that ancient time, and it's still doing its purpose. It's a bridge over the wee burn. Look, one of the sheep's in the wrong field right there, I can see it. That's the thing with these Scottish sheep, often they're like out on the main road and stuff. When you're driving up the glen, you always have to be ready for those animals and stuff kicking about, because they always think the grass is greener on the other side and they try and jump out and escape. I was just thinking, why is my hand sore? Felt like I'd been bitten by a beast, and then I just remembered I got hit with a thistle up next to the building. So check it out here, folks. Look at this mission that I need to do here to get over. On my adventures, I literally climb over so many fences to get places. Probably 1,000 fences a year. I just got some incredible drone shots of that place, folks, so stick around at the end of the video for that. That was one of the reasons I wanted to head back up into these glens again today. And there was places that I may have seen in previous adventures, and getting to see them from the air, it's such a special thing to see the layout of the buildings, or you can see the footprint of the buildings so much easier when you're looking straight down on them. So that was cool to add that to this video as well. I'll put all those clips at the end of the video. And yeah, it's just madness. I'm heading on now to another location, but to save this video from being too long, I'll keep this as being that abandoned croft, and I'll end it here, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Stick around for the drone shots at the end with that montage. And yeah, we'll see you soon with the next one, folks.